What is going on, Jet fans? Matt O'Leary back with another video. Today, I want to break down what I think is an interesting topic, and it has to do with looking at the four teams that are playing later today. This is being recorded before and being posted before the AFC and NFC championship game, and comparing it to what is going to be a key piece on the 2024 roster and seeing if this player is underrated or do fans actually have a valid concern about this player and that position. And what I want to get into is the tight end position, and Tyler Conklin for the New York Jets is going to be their number one tight end next year. As of this second, obviously things could change in free agency and probably more specifically the draft. We will break all that down and see if the Jets have enough at the position, because fans are pointing out, they're looking at the four remaining teams and saying, well, these teams that are left have an elite level tight end. They have, George Kittle is playing in this game, 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns. Jason Kelce is playing in this game, 1,130 yards, 7 touchdowns. Sam Laporta is playing in this game, 968 yards and 11 touchdowns. Mark Andrews is playing in the games today, 544 yards, 6 touchdowns in 10 games, paced out over a full season, 924 yards and 10 touchdowns. So you have four teams with tight ends who were on pace for or put up over a 900-yard season and at least 7 touchdowns. And there's people are saying, well, that's what you need in today's NFL in order to have success. And you have other side saying, well, Tyler Conklin would have been better with a legitimate quarterback and all that stuff. And really, I think the big thing with this debate is really has to go to the NFL draft with the New York Jets at pick number 10. And if Brock Bowers is available, the debate on whether or not the New York Jets should take Brock Bowers or not. And it's a very difficult conversation to have. It's not as black and white as, yes, it's an obvious decision to take him, and no, it would be a fatal flaw to take him. It's where I stand on it personally is I don't think the Jets put themselves in a spot where they could go anywhere but tackle, which stinks that that's the case. I wish they were in a spot like if the Jets if Mekhi Becton was great and he was getting a second contract, you wouldn't really have to worry about that as much. If the Jets ended up with Tristan Wirfs and he was the one, at left tackle and, had a new contract and was playing at a high level, probably not pigeonholed into having to take an offensive lineman in the first round. Then who knows? Maybe that changes in free agency if the Jets go out and sign 2 tackles in free agency. Maybe that completely changes things, and then a wide receiver or tight end becomes the question, and then you'll have people say, well, wide receiver is significantly more important than tight end. Tyler Conklin, Jeremy Ruckert are fine. They really need another wide receiver. I think you should loop just pass catchers in the same category, which is what Brock Bowers would be. He would, I would think, be on somewhere on this level of someone who could put up 900 plus yards in a season for you. So I don't necessarily look at it as, oh, well, he's only a tight end. It's not that if you've watched Brock Bowers, that's not the case. It's obvious that he's a special player, but in the Jets specific scenario that they're in, I don't know if they put themselves in a place where they could afford to draft him and pass on an offensive lineman, which again stinks. I think adding a extremely talented pass catcher like that would be really exciting. And if that's the route that the Jets go, I've said it a million times on my channel already, you're not going to see me have a terrible reaction on the stream. I might be a little bit nervous what the plan is on offensive line, but you'd be adding a really fun weapon and a high ceiling weapon to what was arguably the worst offense in football last year. I'm going to get upset over that. It doesn't make any sense. But when you look at Conklin specifically, I think you could also make a case that maybe he's a little bit underrated. On the season in 2023, he had 61 receptions for 622 yards, no receiving touchdowns, which seems just absolutely unfathomable. But those numbers isolated are solid. 600 yards on 61 receptions. Forget touchdowns. No touchdowns in a season is wild that was even the case for Tyler Conklin this year. But does quarterback play not impact that a little bit? And that's kind of where I go when looking at, Kittle, Kelce, Laporta, and Andrews. To me, there's no denying that all 4 of those guys are better than Tyler Conklin, but are Conklin's numbers not better if Aaron Rodgers played 17 games and it wasn't however, 10 games of Zach Wilson, a couple of Trevor Siemian, and a couple of Tim Boyle. Like 622 yards on 61 receptions with the quarterback situation I don't think is as bad as what some people think. I think, some are actually underrating Tyler Conklin a little bit. He was 5th for tight ends in contested catch percentage. He had only one drop on the season, which was 5th amongst tight ends. And don't forget, Aaron Rodgers, granted it was a little while ago now in 2020, he gave Robert Tonyan an 11 touchdown season. I don't think it's even debatable if Robert Tonyan is a better tight end or not than Tyler Conklin. I think Conklin absolutely is. And Conklin, was someone even without Aaron Rodgers this year and with, being burdened by the quarterback play and being burdened by the play calling of Nathaniel Hackett, was someone who put up decent numbers, was top 5 in contested catch percentage, a top 5 in, least amount of drops, was ranking pretty high in his usage in the slot. So they can use him as a slot guy. And if they add another receiver, then it would be Garrett and another receiver on the outside and Conklin in the slot. And you could use Rucker more as your inline guy. So I think it's really, the point of this video wasn't necessarily to give an answer if the Jets or Jet fans are underrating Tyler Conklin, or if there's a valid concern about not being good enough at that position. I think the point really was to kind of just give the full context of this, because I think it's easy for you to log on today and see people talking about, you need an elite tight end in today's game. Look at the 4 teams left and go Kittle, Kelsey, Laporta, and Andrews. And it's obvious that Conklin, even as underrated as he might be, is not on that level, but the quarterbacks that are throwing the football are also significantly better than the ones the Jets trotted out there this year. Like, are Kittle, Kelsey, Laporta, and Andrews putting up those numbers if they don't have Lamar Jackson, Jared Goff, Brock Purdy, and Patrick Mahomes? Like, it's the chicken and the egg argument. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but you could, take all of this information in, where those guys rank, where Tyler Conklin is. Is he capped out? Is even with Aaron Rodgers next year, is Tyler Conklin going to give you 60 catches, 600 yards, and a couple of, maybe you throw in 3 touchdowns? I don't buy it. I think he's someone who could be maybe around 800 yards and 6 touchdowns, somewhere in that range with a healthy Aaron Rodgers next year. I mean, it's still way too early to do any kind of predictions for 2024, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's where I end up, and I think that'd be really solid. I think that would be solid. So, again, I don't necessarily know if this video had a point to answer this question. I think it was more just worthwhile to add to the discussion, because I think you can make a side for either side of the argument. You can make a point for either side of the argument on this one, and I hear you and I get you, but it's not such a black and white answer. Same with the Jets drafting Brock Bowers. It's not a easy black or white response. There's a lot of gray area, and I think that this is the same thing with Tyler Conklin here. So I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comments or on social media. Do you think Tyler Conklin's actually underrated? Are you comfortable with Tyler Conklin being as your number 1 tight end? Or is it a valid concern that the Jets don't have enough there and that they should be looking to add a tight end to the caliber of Brock Bowers? I don't know. I want to hear from you. Let me know. Comment down below. Subscribe if you're new. Give the video a like before you go, and I'll catch you next time.